Hi, this is Cherie with Rehash Fiber. Today I'm going to teach you all about the drop spindle. I have so much fun with my drop spindle that I cannot wait to share everything about it with you. It started about 1.5 years ago. I was just curious about spinning with the drop spindle, so I ordered a cheap one off the internet. Started off with that, started to get the feel for it. Then when I got better, I invested in a beautiful KCL wood spindle. It just feels like perfection. It is very light, it is 1.4 ounces, and it's made out of beautiful wood with polymer clay inlay. It's just very pretty, very nice to use, very light. I took it with me everywhere this year. And on the last video I posted, if you didn't see it, it was the wrap up of 2020 Year of the Spindles. So I showed a lot of clips of the interesting places I was spinning with the drop spindle. It just really was fun for me to have a nice quality tool to do my favorite aspect of fiber art. And then when people ask about it too, they're like, ooh, that's a really cool tool. And I'm like, it really is. Here's another super neat thing about this tool. KCL Woods makes interchangeable shafts. So when this is full, I can just take it off and put on a new one. See my leader? It stays. It's there, ready to go. I just keep using them over and over again. But as simple as that, I am ready to go for the next one. So my initial purchase was just the spindle and this shaft. When it dawned on me that it was interchangeable, I went ahead and ordered 6 more. Because prior to having shafts to change out, I was offloading onto this. This is one of the dog rolls that, for the dog waste bags, very hard, will last, but it took unwanted time for me to offload when I could have been spinning, which is the fun part. Offloading is not. So my life got a lot happier once I got a bunch of shafts. Then I could keep going until they were all full. Then I used, from Spanish Peacock, the ply stand. How it works is you just load up your spindles. You just load up your spindles and then you can ply. And I ply with my e-spinner. But then on the evening I decide to do it, I can just go to town plying. And then I end up with this. So a little story about the fiber. I was blessed to receive from Jessica James in Houston 4 pounds of beautiful, soft, brown and lighter brown, kind of grayish fiber. It is so soft, it feels so good. It went through the cement bucket, then it got washed once. It still has a little bit of lanolin in it, but I like that because it feels good and soft and a little bit springy. It smells good. So what I did is I had to pick it just a little bit. It was pretty clean, but I picked it. Then I run it through the drum carder. Then I diz it off into these lovely nests. And I do enough to keep me going for a while. Then I have to get back to spinning. So it's kind of just like a cycle of prepare it, prepare it, spin it, have the finished yarn. When it is all done, I have my eye on an Isabel Kramer pattern of a cardigan that I want to make with this beautiful soft brown. Very excited. So let's get to the nitty-gritty on how to use a drop spindle. You can purchase or get a drop spindle any type you want. That's what's fun. It's kind of like shopping for what you like. People like different styles of shoes. You can do different styles of spindles. There's wood, there's plastic, there's metal. I'm not going to get too technical here, but what I'm going to tell you is if you want to spin a thicker yarn, you need a heavier spindle. And if you want a thin, lighter yarn, you need a lighter spindle. A 1 ounce spindle works for me because I like to try to spin pretty thin, but not thread thin. That way when it's plied, it's about a DK weight or almost DK. And I like that because I feel like it gives me more options to make different clothing items. and it falls natural to me. I've tried to do it thicker, tried to do it thinner, and then I was just missing the fun of the spin, so I just want to do what comes natural. And this is what comes natural. I start by putting a leader on the drop spindle. Makes life easier. So this is a thin piece of yarn, about the same size of how I'm going to spin. So I'm putting that on there, and it's maybe a little over a foot long. Start at the base and just tie it on with a regular knot. So to keep this from spinning, you need to set it so it's secure. So you take the yarn and you fold it like so. Then from this side, you bring it through. That will help that out. Now we're ready to go. So I can bring it up and I'm ready to start spinning. The leader I made was just a little bit too long for me. I'm going to trim it some. You just need enough that you're able to start getting a twist in it that will then grab onto your fiber. So the fiber to use for spinning on a drop spindle, you just want it either well prepared or purchase a nice fiber that will draft easily. Because what you don't want to be doing is spinning and then fighting with something over here. You want a fiber that's going to move. So combed top is good. Most professionally prepared fiber is good. If it feels a little tight, you might want to pre-draft just so that you're not fighting with it. If you're preparing your own fiber, make sure that it has been carded and that it will move. This went through the drum carder and then the diz, and you can see how airy it is and how easy it is to draft. This is a lovely long staple. I just feel like I'm in heaven when I'm spinning with it. Now, mind you, 4 pounds might seem like that's going to take an eternity. It might, but you know what's nice is that I am so addicted to this because it is so much fun that there is a sense of calmness knowing that I have that much fiber in front of me to do, that I will not run out, that I will not have to buy more, and that I can just keep spinning. It's a positive addiction, okay? So I can just keep it going. And it will be neat to have said that I have spun with a drop spindle, my own yarn, to make that nice cardigan. So here we are. I have a nice nest of this brown wool that is beautiful. What I'm going to do with my hand is give a flick and get the spin started into the leader. I'm going to bring up my nice fiber. Now, I like to put my arm underneath it because what it does is it provides a distance between the spin that's going on and the fiber that's here. Because if this were to touch this, then it gets twisted. It's a nasty mess, very frustrating. So just keep it away. Some people wrap around their arm. However, if I have a table or something near me, I can just lay the nest on the table and I can spin like so. I'm going to do another hand flick and I'm going to pinch right where it's joining. When I feel the twist come up to it, I'm going to let it go and you can start to see it. We are just going to keep working it till we see it really twist around this. I can draft out a little bit so that it's not as bulky. I'm holding the end of my leader and we're going to let it get wrapped there. See how it's holding on? Now it's starting to go into the fiber. Keep the spin going. Initially, it's just going to want to spin back the other way. Keep the spin going in the direction you started. It doesn't matter which way you spin, do what is comfortable for you. You can do the clockwise, which is the Z spin, or the counterclockwise, which is the S spin. Either way is fine because you are spinning and you are making yarn. Just remember when you go to ply, you need to do the opposite direction. All right, so we have it attached. You see that? It's a very vulnerable place. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it on. I tend to just roll it this way. And we're wrapping it on. Right, I can hook it through my notch once again. Wrap it through the hook. I'm going to give it another flick. We're off and running. Now, once I get a little bit of twist in it, there is a much faster way to do this. You can do it off your leg. You get a huge spin. You can spin and draft for a while. Very, very fun. When you are starting out, it can be frustrating. It was frustrating for me. It was awkward. But it's like anything when you're first learning it. Remember when you're learning a bike, learning to skate, it's frustrating and awkward, but you see your friends doing it and you want to do it too. Same way. I would see people at the yarn shop just spinning away, and I knew there had to be something really good to it, and I knew I loved spinning. So I kept at it until it got to be second nature, and it was so worthwhile. Like I said, it's a positive addiction. There is no magical way to wind either. You can do it however you want. There are ways to wind it where it might keep your spin going longer. I tell you what, I don't have a problem. I have done it both ways. I've done it where my cop is very thick here and thin down to here. Works good. I've also done it where it's pretty even throughout. So just do what works for you. Get a feel for your spindle. If you want to get more technical, you can read up on that aspect. I do not worry about that aspect. And you can see I produce a lot of yarn with the drop spindle. All right, so let me explain the draft zone to you. Always keep the pinch where you do not want it to go. I'm going to spin. I'm going to hold right there again, and I back up. Now you can see here, and here's a bit of this lumpy natural fiber. It's okay, it'll spin into it. I'm going to draft this area. You can already see it's back spinning. Just give it another flick, work it out, and just work between the two fingers that are controlling where the twist goes. I'm going to draft it, I'm going to pinch, and it's going to go in. Now, if you get these fuzzies like this, let the spin get into it. Just remember, if you want perfect yarn, you can buy it. Do not get too frustrated with your hand spun yarn because you are getting the joy and the fun of spinning. So stick with it. I don't care that this isn't perfect. What happens eventually is that when it's plied, it ends up being tucked in. And if there's a little bits of fuzzies, it's going to make the sweater more interesting. I don't want perfect yarn in the sweater. I want a really neat yarn. And I believe this is going to be really neat. Winding it up again. Starting off with a little flick, letting the twist go into the fiber. Use the leg. Drafting it out. You see where I'm controlling it right here. Now I'm going to stop it here, let the spin go into it there, spin it some more, hold it, draft it, control where it goes. There we go. In the beginning, you might want to try park and draft. It might be less frustrating for you. So what you're going to want to do with that is you're going to spin. There's a lot of twist there. You're going to stop it. That way you only have to worry about one thing at a time. Then you're going to draft and hold and let the spin go into it. That way you have control. You might just want to hold it against your body. See, it's not going to spin if you do that. Or if you're sitting down, you can just lean it on your leg or the table and you let that spin go up into where you were holding. Here we go again. We're going to park and draft again. We're going to spin, stop it, hold it, and let the spin go into this. And that is a way when you're trying to just get used to holding everything, you can manage it a little bit better. So hopefully you stay with it, you get to the point where it's second nature, and you're able to do this fun activity. So I have a couple more things to tell you. When you're using a spindle, you can spin them either direction. Clockwise, counterclockwise, which is the Z spin or the S spin. Whatever works for you, whatever's natural. I had somebody last week tell me that I was spinning the wrong direction on the great wheel. That is another form of spindle. It doesn't matter. As long as yarn is being produced and then you know which direction to apply it in later, doesn't matter. It's all what works for you. It's like saying there is a right or a wrong hand to write with. There isn't. As long as you produce writing, you're doing a good job. So same here, do what's comfy for you. The other neat thing I want to share with you is that spindles are 30,000 years old. They are one of the oldest fiber tools that have been found. What they find are the clay and stone whorls because those last throughout time. So I thought that was pretty cool. So next time somebody says, "What are you doing?" I am making yarn. It is the oldest fiber craft known. You're in good company with those people from 30,000 years ago. So you can see here, this one's now getting very full. I did do it a bit thicker up at the whorl and thinner down here. Some signs that it's getting full is that, first of all, you can just feel that it's getting heavier and you have enough on there that you want. Also, if your yarn is breaking a lot, it's getting too heavy and it's breaking it. And that's another thing, do not worry about. When you're getting started, your drop spindle will fall. That's why it's called a drop spindle. I drop mine a lot, unfortunately. This KCL wood spindle has some dings in it. But I think about it, over the year that I used it everywhere I went, it's kind of like a seasoned spindle now. It's been dropped and it has survived, and it's got the test of time with hours and hours of fun. So when it's full, you can just separate your fiber, and I wrap it on, and I just leave the end fuzzy. That way you can find it later when you're plying. And it's nice when you have fuzzy ends, because when I'm plying 2 of these spindles, there's not the same amount on each one. So when one runs out, the next one I start has the fuzzy end. You work it in to the ply, and then you continue to ply. So with these wonderful spindles, I can then just twist this off and pop another shaft on. So if you have a spindle where the shaft is solid and part of it, a couple of things you can do is you can offload onto those dog bag rolls that I showed you. But another aha moment I had this past year is, say you have $20 spindles. Well, if you have a few of those and they're about the same weight, then just keep spinning that same fiber on those spindles, and then you can ply with those spindles. It's kind of like having a bunch of shafts, but you just have a bunch of spindles. They just have to be similar in weight. All right, good luck with your spindling. Happy spinning with your drop spindle, and thanks for watching. If you're enjoying this programming, I invite you to become a supporting member. You can go to Patreon, rehashfiber, or click on the link in the description. There you can give as little as $3 a month, and it helps with the general support of keeping the show going. As a Patreon member, you'll get access to behind-the-scenes videos and other special things that come along. And as a little thank you gift, you'll get the Rehash fiber pin.